What if the real reason you haven't reached your goals yet has nothing to do with talent, luck, or intelligence? What if discipline, focus, and hard work are not the cause of success, but the result of something deeper? Right now, there is a belief quietly shaping every decision you make, every challenge you face, and every setback you experience. And once you understand this belief, everything changes. Most people think success comes from grinding harder, pushing longer, or being born gifted. They believe that some people are simply wired to win, while others are not. But research tells a very different story. Effort, persistence, and focus don't appear out of nowhere. They grow from a mindset, a way of interpreting the world, yourself, and your potential. There are individuals who succeed not just in one field, but across completely different disciplines. Not because they are special, but because they understand how growth works. They don't see ability as something fixed. They see it as something expandable. One such individual dominated a highly competitive mental discipline at a national level, but instead of staying in his comfort zone, he chose to start over in a completely different arena, one that demanded physical pain, humility, and repeated failure. He didn't succeed immediately. In fact, he failed often. He lost matches. He got injured. He questioned himself. But eventually he rose to the top again. When asked what the most important moment of his journey was, he didn't mention a victory. He mentioned a loss, because losing early saved him from the most dangerous psychological trap of all, believing he was special. The moment you believe success comes from innate talent, you become fragile. You start protecting your ego instead of growing your ability. You avoid challenges that might expose weakness. You fear failure because it feels like a judgment on who you are. This is where mindset changes. Everything some people believe intelligence, skill, and talent are fixed traits. You either have them or you don't. Others believe these qualities can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. These two beliefs create completely different lives. Studies tracking students over several years revealed something powerful. Students who believed they could improve their intelligence consistently raised their performance over time. Those who believed intelligence was fixed stayed the same or declined. The gap between them didn't stay small. It widened. The only difference was belief. This pattern doesn't stop at school. It appears in sports, leadership, creativity, relationships, and health. The mindset you carry determines how you respond when things get hard. When people with a fixed mindset struggle, they interpret difficulty as a signal to stop. They think, this proves I'm not good at this. Effort feels like weakness. Failure feels like exposure. So they pull back. They disengage. From the outside, it looks like laziness or lack of motivation. But underneath, it's fear. People with a growth mindset interpret struggle differently. They see difficulty as part of the process. Effort becomes a tool, not a threat. Feedback becomes information, not an attack. When they fall, they don't ask, what's wrong with me? They ask, what can I learn? Neuroscience backs this up. Brain scans show that people with rigid beliefs become most mentally active when receiving judgments, grades, scores, opinions. Their focus is on evaluation. But people with growth beliefs show the highest brain activity when receiving feedback about improvement. Their focus is learning. This single difference changes motivation at a biological level. Think about how many labels you've accepted. I'm not a math person. I'm not creative. I'm bad at social situations. Or the opposite. I'm naturally good at this. Both are limiting. Both lock you into a narrow identity. The brain is not static. It rewires itself constantly. Every time you practice, struggle, reflect, and adapt, your brain changes. Skills are built, not discovered. History is filled with people once labeled as failures. Writers rejected for years, scientists dismissed by experts, performers told they had no future. What separated them wasn't genius, it was persistence fueled by belief. Mindset doesn't just change how you feel, it changes how you behave under pressure. There was an experiment involving children solving puzzles. After completing a task, one group was praised for being smart, another group was praised for their effort. Then they were given a choice, an easy puzzle or a challenging one. The children praised for intelligence overwhelmingly chose the easy task. They wanted to protect their image. The children praised for effort chose the harder challenge. They wanted to grow. Later, when all children were given a difficult puzzle, the difference became clear. But those praised for intelligence performed worse afterward, even on easier tasks. But those praised for effort improved at the end. The children were asked to report their scores. The group praised for intelligence lied more than 3 times as often. Not because they were dishonest, but because they didn't know how else to cope with failure. One sentence changed everything. When we praise talent, we create fear. When we praise process, we create resilience. This applies to adults just as much as children. In workplaces, people with rigid beliefs avoid feedback. They see criticism as a threat. They mentor less, collaborate less, and grow slower. Those with growth beliefs actively seek feedback. They improve faster and lead better. Even relationships are affected. When people believe personalities can, which change, conflicts become solvable. When they believe people are fixed, resentment grows. Mindset can even influence large-scale social outcomes. When groups are exposed to the idea that identities are flexible and change is possible, hostility decreases and cooperation increases. So why aren't we teaching this everywhere? We spend years teaching facts, formulas, and strategies, but we often ignore the beliefs that determine whether those tools are used. Without the right mindset, knowledge alone isn't enough. The most powerful realization you can have is this: you are not trapped by who you are today. Your abilities are not ceilings, they're starting points. When you adopt a growth mindset, effort stops being punishment and becomes investment. Failure stops being rejection and becomes instruction. Confidence stops being something you wait for and becomes something you build. There are 3 things you can start doing today. First, understand that growth is supported by science. Your brain changes when you challenge it. Struggle is not damage, it is construction. Second, learn how improvement actually works. Deliberate practice, focused effort, reflection, and adjustment. When you understand the process, belief strengthens. Third, listen to your internal voice. When it says, "I can't do this," don't argue emotionally. Add 1 word, yet. That single word keeps the door open. Share this mindset with your family, with your friends, with the people who influence your life. Because when belief changes, behavior follows. And when behavior changes consistently, results become inevitable. Your potential is far greater than your current performance suggests. And the moment you believe that, everything begins to rise.